Today's episode is special for me because I want to show you the solution I believe can answer the needs and the challenges that we discussed throughout all our series. The Vasco Translator, the technology that Vasco Electronics provides to market, and I believe you may have some questions.
Yes, I do. Very nice packaging, by the way. It presents very well. So I do have a few questions for you, and I would love to get started with by asking you if you can give us a brief description of this technology. What is the voice translator, and how does it work?
They're actually very simple tools dedicated to translation only. Our devices support up to 108 languages. We use natural language processing with multiple AI algorithms to make sure that users get the translation fast and the translation is accurate. And when you describe throughout our episodes, the challenges that education faces, I had this one thought in mind that this technology is always available. And this availability seems to be very important because you can't wait when you face the communication barrier, you can't wait for someone to come to you. There is a lot of emotions, stress, and everything that we discussed. Mm-hmm. You need the solution here and now, right? Vasco Translator is the answer to that because with multiple languages that it offers, you can just turn on the device and start the conversation.
And is this only for students?
No, absolutely not. I think that it can be applied to any of the stakeholders. We may as well support MLEs, teachers, of course, administrators and offices in the school districts, and of course, migrant families.
So anyone can use this device regardless of where they are in the educational system. Everyone can benefit from it. Is that what you're saying?
So, yes.
Excellent.
Definitely.
Well, can you show us how it works?
Definitely. I'll be happy to. Take one, please. Put it onto your ear. I will connect earbuds with our handheld translator. Your language is, of course, English. I will be using Polish for the demonstration purposes.
All right.
And we will hear out the translation on the device. Cześć Luis, bardzo miło mi Ciebie zaprosić do rozmowy o naszych urządzeniach i pokazać, jak tłumaczą z polskiego na angielski.
Hi Luis, I am very pleased to invite you to talk about our devices and show you how they translate from Polish to English.
Wonderful. And I could hear it here, but then I could also hear it here. So perfect. Thank you for the demonstration.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Well, I have another question now since we tried it and you showed us how it works. So how can this voice translator help? Let's focus on MLEs right now, but how does this translator help MLEs in learning languages?
Thank you for that question. It may seem a little counterintuitive to equip students, MLEs, with the technology that may keep them from learning English, but it's not the case of Vasco Translator. You mentioned in our previous episode that learning English takes from 5 to 7 years, and the especially tough part of that process is the beginning, right?
Yes, the beginning students need the most support because many of them arrive with zero language. So it's challenging for them and teachers, especially with communication.
What they can get from using our device is understanding what's happening. They need to understand the requirements. And of course, in the end, they need to socialize and follow the content. It's all possible with our devices. And in the same time, they are learning English because they hear English, they read English on our device. They can use the Oxford Dictionary that we offer to understand meaning of the words in English. And as the last part, they can write on the device and practice writing. It's called total language learning. And that's what they get. So they practice, they understand, they feel less stressful.
So they get all of those services in just one device. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Wow. I'm thinking as a teacher, right? Because of course, when I had newcomers, MLEs, who spoke Spanish and Portuguese, I could help with them, but it would have been fantastic if I had something like this for speakers. I don't know, for example, French speakers or students. I had a lot of students also who spoke Urdu, who spoke Vietnamese, and you include all of those languages here. Is that correct?
Well, we have over 80 languages available on the device. I can't promise you that we have all of those languages that you need or needed back then. But yes, we do have a lot of minority languages. And from my experience, school districts are all about looking for those languages.
Yes.
Spanish is not that important because you have a lot of resources in Spanish, right?
In many states is that way, yes.
Exactly. But when it comes to Urdu or Swahili, it becomes extremely difficult. You don't have any written resources. You don't have interpreters to help you out. And even services available over the phone or the apps do not offer anything to help you. And you have the family that is standing right next to you, in front of you, and they just need the support, right? You can do that with Vasco Translator.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, I do see potential for the use of Vasco translators in the classroom, but let's expand this a little bit more. How can it be used to support families? You were hinting at that before, but how can you use this resource, this tool with families?
We started from the enrollment process.
Yes.
And how it is important in terms of bringing the plan, creating the plan, the path, educational path for the students. It's impossible when the language barrier prevents you from communicating with the family.
Thank you for sharing that. So the incoming process is very important for parents, but I'm also thinking, for example, what do you think about parent-teacher conferences? In my school, for example, we used to have parent-teacher conferences maybe 3-4 times a year, maybe more depending on the district. Is this something that you can use for parent-teacher conferences?
Well, you were one of those teachers, right? Sitting in a classroom, not knowing who's gonna come. And some of the parents that you said you experienced, you talked to, they didn't know English or Spanish that you speak. So you were unable to communicate with them. Imagine yourself sitting in the same classroom with Vasco Translator V4, and how easily you could switch from one language to another when you need it, right?
Yes.
Would that be a huge change for you?
I think it would have been very helpful for me, but also for the parents, because
Absolutely.
they know that they can come to my classroom and we can have a conversation, even though I maybe don't speak Chinese or Vietnamese or other languages that they spoke. So I think that would have been very helpful for me when I was in those parent-teacher conferences, for sure.
And on top of that, there are those big gatherings when you want to meet with all the parents.
Yes.
I remind your story about some of the parents giving you the experience, sharing with you the experience of not feeling part of that because of the language barrier again. What you can do with Vasco Translator V4 is that you can group up to 100 devices together and have a multilingual conversation. One of the devices can be the device that the teacher or the administration uses to speak. And all the participants in the conversation, multilingual parents, among all the parents, will get the translation to their device, to their preferred and supported language, which is a huge change because they can participate.
Wow, that's very interesting. So let me, just for the audience and for clarification. So imagine we have an auditorium filled with parents, and then the administrator is giving information, sharing information, just talking to the parents in English. They could all be listening to the information in their languages while the administrator is speaking in English.
Yes, that's right. You can pair the V4 with your own earbuds. You can easily and smoothly provide all the necessary information and pass the information to all the parents, not only those who know English.
That's very helpful. I think this actually leads me to my next question about administration and the administrative staff. But when we think of administration and teachers, funding, we talked about this, funding is a real issue for schools, and bringing new technology can be a challenge as well. So how can you address that?
That's why we made those devices very simple. It's a dedicated translation tool. That means it doesn't come with all the unnecessary features or different things you can do with the device, and that makes it much more simple. So I think, and from my experience and experience of the customers that we had, school districts and schools, even less tech-savvy educators can easily adopt this device and start using it in their classroom with their kids. Actually, we have kids using those devices. I believe that's the best point to prove that it is very simple.
So it's being used in the US as we speak.
Of course, yes. We have multiple school districts right now that we support with our technology, and they're extremely happy with how it works and how it improves the experience of multilingual learners in their district.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And if we may go deeper into the funding part, because funding, I have to highlight it again, can be a challenge for schools, for administrators, for teachers. How can we address the issue with funding?
I'm happy you mentioned that. And I believe that's one of the biggest benefits schools get with this technology. It's a long-term solution. Our device is one-time investment. When you buy the number of devices you need, you have the technology that doesn't require any further investment, because we update those devices for free. There is no subscription. In the long term, with no fees attached, it becomes very cost-efficient solution.
Wow, very interesting. And we have to also mention, when we think about funding, and we have to come back to the episode of long-term and sustainable solutions. So this seems like a long-term but also sustainable solution then for interpreting and translation purposes. Is that correct?
Absolutely. This technology has been developed for last 10 years, but we constantly improve what is in those devices, and we come up with new ideas, with new features, with new languages. So definitely, this is a sustainable solution that you can consider as a long-term investment, something that will stay in the district and constantly improve and change.
The environment is always changing, so we do need resources, tools that are changing continuously with the environment. So we need that, certainly. These are all the questions that I have. Thank you so much for answering them.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, and it's been a pleasure to present to our audience not only the device, but discuss the topic of multilingual learners in education. I believe that's just the start, but I also believe that not only Vasco Translator, but the discussion and everything that comes with it will help improve the system for the future, for the sake of our children.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you.